in Mitzrayim, Eden were subjugated to work, to labor with Chaymer Bilveni. And this labor eliminated much of their Gashmius and their Yeshus. And it purified them, made them prepared to receive the Torah. This labor, after the Matan Torah, in our time, in our goals, was substituted with labor in learning Torah.
Here, like if you're not curling Torah, so you should turn in the Nazareth.
That's right. Choymer, Zakal v'choymer. Levenim, ze libum hilchasa. All right, ready? Okay, so we are Yud Gimel. We're starting the next ois. Ubir hu inyan. We concluded in the previous ois. The principle that we concluded was that the neshama itself is rooted in Atzilus, which is the world of purity. And thus, Avraham, whose neshama is of Atzilus, he was told, Lech Lecha. Lech Lecha means that Lecha, that your Lecha, your essence, your neshama, should now should go forward and reveal itself at the lower level, in Bria Yitzira Asiya. In other words, you should lower yourself and be recognized in the world, in the lower world, so that the principles and the purity of Atzilus should now begin to affect and permeate the world, the lower world. This is how we explain the name from Lech Lecha.
To go to yourself is to go lower.
What?
To go to yourself is to go lower.
No, it's not. Lech Lecha. Lecha means yours. Lecha means that which belongs to you.
So to go to you is to go.
And, the way the Rebbe tries to explain the word Lecha over here, you should move Lecha, yourself. That which is yours. Shalcha.
I'm asking if to go to yourself is to go lower, it's considered to be going lower.
No, to go to yourself, there are different types. And there sometimes they go to yourself means rise up to a higher madrega.
And it's not for go for yourself.
Here we're saying that it means you should move yourself, you should carry yourself down. Lech. Go for yourself, meaning go take yourself.
To make the yourself go.
Right, make yourself go. Right. All right. Ubir hu inyan. Oh. This was in general that we explained the idea from Lech Lecha. Further discussing it in more great detail, the Hine Avraham, and both we want to know what is the Lecha and what is the principle of Lech. What happens when it's Lech, when it goes, when it gets revealed. Avraham b'shorshoi, Avraham in the source, meaning the essence of Avraham, who the level of Avram in essence is Seichel Hane'elom Mikol Rayim. Originally Avram's name was Avram, without a hey. And Avram stands for two words. Av means father, and Ram means supreme, above. Av, father, there is father and mother in Ruchnis, this is Chochmah and Bina. So Avram means supreme Chochmah. Avram means supreme Chochmah. And this is explained in, so to speak, in expressing it. What does that mean? How do you relate to that? What's supreme Chochmah? It is a Seichel Hane'elom Mikol Rayim. The Seichel that is concealed from all thought. Rayim means conscious thought. The Seichel that is above all thought. The Seichel Mikol Rayim.
What is Rayon?
Rayon is a thought.
What's the difference between Sechel and Rayon?
No, okay. A Rayon means a thought, a revealed thought. To be aware. Something that can be described. Seichel is the idea. The insight that is Ne'elam, that is concealed from Rayon. Right, Rayon is an idea.
I have an idea. What does it mean I have an idea?
So by the time you say, I have an idea, that idea is no longer pure seichel. That idea is already defined at a much lower level, but you can define it and you can even tell somebody, I have an idea. But that which is formulated in your own seichel deep down, that's like an idea. That's like an idea, that's the source of an idea. I will try to discuss this in and open this up a little bit. In the Rebbe's Maimonim, the Friedrich Rebbe's Maimonim, he has short sentences, but full of content. So we can't just run through them. We have to stop and get it in and explain it. Otherwise, you will just say nice sounding words. We explained in the past, which is a thought which is very important, and it's almost inevitable. You know what inevitable means? It's almost impossible that we would not lose this thought, and we have to always remind ourselves of it. What is meant by seichel? What do we mean by seichel? The reason we lose sight of what seichel is, that we are involved in all the time in the chitzonius seichel, in the external seichel. When we say 2 times 2 equals 4, that's seichel. But 2 times 2 equals 4, even a cat can know 2 times 2 equals 4. That's not seichel. That's a way of figuring things out. If you say, seichel, how do you get from here to there? How do you get from here to Crown Heights? Okay, that's seichel. But a dog that lives in Crown Heights, if you bring him here, he can also find his way back. You say a dog has seichel. That's not seichel. just as the emotion, everyone knows what emotion is. Ahava, Yira, Chesed and Gvura. This comes from a living soul, right? You can't have Ahava because you're supposed to have Ahava. Ahava is something which comes from the life, which is a living expression of the soul. And one would have Ahava to that which his soul can relate to. Like the Nefesh HaElokis has Ahava to Elokus. The Nefesh HaBahamis has Ahava to Dvorim Bahamim. You can't tell Nefesh HaBahamis love Elokus. He can't relate to it. If he can't relate to it, he can't have Ahava to it. In other words, Ahava is an expression of what kind of soul do you have. Seichel is also a koyach hanefesh. It's also an expression of the soul. Except that seichel is an expression of the soul at a much higher level than midas, than the emotion. There are two, I'll explain this principle I just now said. There are two, generally speaking, there are two parts in a person. And this is in fact Seichel and Midas, but you'll see how that fits in. There are two parts of the person. There is what goes on in him internally, what he feels, what he is, and how he relates to the outside. What he knows about that which is outside of him. Let us say a child, a small child, and give him a toy car. He enjoys his car, he loves his car. The car is useless. In the true world, it's a useless thing. Why does he love the car? It makes him feel good. It develops his imagination. It has nothing to do with reality. An adult person can also, so to speak, love his car. But the car has to be a useful thing. If the car is something which cannot move, then we say he doesn't have seichel. He's an idiot. He relates to something that is useless. If it is useful, then he can have an ahava, he can want it. Who defines whether it is useful or not? The seichel. Which means the seichel identifies to the person the reality. The child doesn't use seichel. And this is why the child doesn't need to identify reality. I like it, it looks good, it could be useless, but I don't need reality. I need that which I feel good about. An adult person Generally speaking, a healthy person will look for something real. And if he doesn't have reality, then he cannot be interested in it. That means that everything, we say we have a person has midas, has ahava. So even though this is a personal feeling, he has ahava, but that ahava has to relate to something real. That reality is identified by his seichel, which means that his seichel knows of reality not by personal preference, not by personal experience, but just what is real. How does Seichel know what is real? If you experience something, you like it, you don't like it, so that's your emotion. But here we say that no, Seichel is able to know way before you experience it, before you like it or you don't like it, you love it or you hate it. You know reality. And this knowledge of reality, this is what makes it possible for you to like something or not like something. This reality, this ability to relate, to identify reality, is based, and it's come as a clear expression of the reality of the nefesh itself. Because the nefesh is real, this is how a person knows that there is reality. And this is how they were able to identify reality. Because the nefesh is real. What's means real? This is also something which is necessary to be pointed out in our day, because the psychology, anybody who was exposed to it, has a completely different view. Their view is that a person does not know reality. A person knows reality only by reaction. If something makes him uncomfortable, so you know that this is not good. Something makes him comfortable, so you know this is good. It's not real. It's only a reaction. Excuse me?
It's funny.
It's funny, right?
Sometimes you don't like this, but your brain you understand it's the right.
You should. Okay, so I'm explaining it to you. So you're lucky that you have it. Baruch Hashem, we are all lucky because we were exposed to exceedance. But in the world, that's a very common thought. But what's psychology? The whole process of psychology is to figure out why does a person like this? Oh, this is something in his old experience, and let's go back there and change it. They can change people. They say they can change people. They cannot change people. But, that's the whole approach. Because a person is the sum of his experience, nothing else. From their definition, a person is no different than a cat. A little bit more sophisticated. But we don't believe in that. We believe that a person has seichel, that which a cat doesn't have at all. A person literally has knowledge. And not what kind of knowledge? Clear knowledge, sound knowledge of that which he has never seen and never experienced. And he knows it's clear, he knows it's true. Like faith, like a munah, he knows clearly the truth of it and he's never experienced it, never seen it. As a munah in Hashem, and he can if Chas v'Sholom needed, he can give his life for it. And he's never seen Hashem. Never experienced it. Not physically seen. He's seen him in his mind's eye, but he's not seen him physically. Never experienced it. I once read about a communist school, a classroom, where they want to indoctrinate children. You know what indoctrinate means? Train children to think in a certain way. So they want to indoctrinate children away from God and believing in whatever they want them to believe. So they tell the children, close your eyes and ask God for a candy. Children close their eyes and they ask God for a candy. Now open your eyes. Open your eyes. Is the candy in front of you? Did God give you a candy? No. Didn't give you a candy. Now, close your eyes and ask Stalin for the candy. Stalin. This is a true story. I mean, I read it, in those years.
What age the kids?
What age you can imagine. Indoctrinate it. 3, 4, 5. Ask Stalin for the candy. Closer. So the children close their eyes. The teacher runs around and throws candy in front of every child. And they open their eyes and here's the candy. So who gives you a candy? God or Stalin? Tavarish Stalin. Who else can give you a candy? This is a means to steal the neshama away from the child. You can't steal the neshama away. He has it, but somewhere you confuse it and you put it on the side. So I'm saying, by virtue of our neshama, we know things that we've never seen and never experienced and never saw any result of it. We daven every day, and we daven with our whole heart and our whole mind, with our whole soul. And we go down to breakfast, and who brings us breakfast? The cook. You don't see God come down giving us breakfast. And it doesn't disturb us. Because that's the reality. This is the way we understand. God does his things in his own way, and we trust him 100%. This is called seichel. This means seichel. Seichel that's rooted in the nefesh, in the soul, in the truth of the soul, because the soul is true. So from that you draw a seichel. Okay, what is how the nefesh know things? What is the truth? What is true to the nefesh? Is the table true to the nefesh? Is the world true to the nefesh? Or is God true to the nefesh? And the nefesh says, no, God is true. The table is bin laila hoya. Here it is, and here it's not. It's not a truth. And it's nothing. I can only relate to that which is present all the time. Much more than that, but just pointing out certain differences.
What is sechel? Sechel is Hashem creates certain rules.
What?
What is sechel? Certain rules how the Hashem decide the world gonna work like this. You should believe to this, you should do like this, so certain rules. And from there comes neshama. It's like so sechel is the rules, right?
Seichel, you're jumping a little bit ahead. Seichel, as I said, Seichel comes from the Neshama. Seichel is one of the highest, finest kochas that we have, coming from the Neshama. And what is Seichel? Seichel tells us But the neshama itself thinks we cannot know. Because we are not at that level. We're not sensitive to the neshama. Like I mentioned many times, that we can only think and understand something that can be put in time and space. Because we can think with our brain. And the brain is time and space. The seichel is in the brain. And the seichel tells, so to speak, the person at the worldly level, on the person's level, what truth the neshama knows. The neshama knows the truth. This may be called oineg and rotzein, and even higher than that. And the seichel is that which translates that truth at the seichel level. But where is it coming from? It's coming from the truth of the nefesh. For instance, for example, every person understands that if this cup is standing here, somebody put it here. This is common understanding. Not because he saw it happen, but because he can. That's true. How we know this truth, we'll see in a minute. But everybody is convinced, without a doubt, that if there's a cup here, somebody put it here. Now, does the cat also know that? Does the cat contemplate how did the cup get here? No, the cat only knows that the cup is here. Doesn't at all contemplate how it got here. Why? Because to the cat, the presence of the cat, of the cup, that's the level of its truth. Doesn't need anything else. Doesn't have to make sense how come it's here. It's here, finished. A human being knows that the physical world is not, it's here. It's not that type of reality in itself. It has to have a source, because in itself, this is not real. Because he, in his seichel, because of his nefesh, perceives reality at a higher level, at a truer level. Not just because of the fact of it, I have to accept it. But where is the fact come from? How come it's like this? That's the first level of seichel. And why do we have this seichel? Why are we so sure that the cup was put here? Because we are positive that this is not the reality. You understand? This is a seichel concept. This is because of what kind of nefesh we have. Now this is an important distinction, because we lose sight of this. The psychologist will tell you know why you know that? Because you've seen it 1,000 times. And we disagree with that. We say that every child knows that automatically. Because we have a certain different sense of reality. And the cup being over here is not a reality. It's something that was made, that was done. And by extension, the table being here is not a reality. By extension, the house being here is not a reality. And ultimately, at a deeper level, we understand the world being here is not a reality. Because we perceive reality even beyond the fact of the world itself.
And
understanding that the house is not here, that's without studying, without
I'm missing what?
the understanding that the house was not here at the beginning, that someone put it, that's without studying, without even a child recognizes that. But understanding that the word wasn't here, that only comes with studying Torah. It's not something that is.
That is correct, but the reason for that is because we don't think of it. In other words, when you learn with the child, Bereshis Borah Elokim Hashemayim v'Haaretz, he doesn't contradict his thinking. You know what I'm saying? You never thought of it. Many people never thought of the house not being here. They think the house is here. People, this is how it is. So that's only a question of what arouses your interest. But if you tell him something, of course, I always knew it. I tell a person, I'm going to tell you a secret. This house was not always here. I'll say, well, what do you consider me an idiot or something? Understand?
What the second of the person? Second of the person some power.
I'm sorry?
The second of the person, is coming power of the soul in the body. Right? So what second can do? He can memorize the information, right? And he's like can ask the questions, do the logic, and what is clicked by him, he's understands it's right? What is
So this is what I'm trying to explain to you. It is true that he is going to examine the situation. But the reason he examines the situation is because the situation on its own is not the real truth. How does you know it's not the real truth? You go to a car, you see the car runs. So a curious person will open up the hood and say, what makes it run? What do you mean? It runs. You run. Why can't the car run? He says, no, don't play games with me. The car has a motor, and there has to be a logical way how it runs. Then he starts taking it apart. But if he did not have the initial recognition that there has to be something that makes it run, he wouldn't even begin to study it. Once he has that recognition, then he knows there has to be a perfectly logical way how it will operate, and he starts looking for that logic. That's already a much lower seichel. That's already the practical, the chitzonius seichel. But the principle that leads him to that is the fact that he has seichel that tells him there is something here. It's not just a reality on its own. So we have this understanding. I said this is important to when we learn to see this, we say the word seichel. What do we mean by seichel? I told the people here, I don't know if any of you were here when I said it, that I remember there was an elderly person, a loner. He was alone. He had a little dog. This was his company. And he used to walk the Eastern Parkway with his dog. He sit outside of 770. He was a decent man, but alone. Apparently, he had some education, maybe a lot of education, but he was a loner. So I remember he showed off one time that his dog was able to do arithmetic operations. He would say 2 and 3, and the dog would bark out 5 times. Okay.
Three
Huh?
plus two and
Yeah. So, wow. Yeah. So this type of thing, 2 plus 3, even a dog can be taught to do it. Because in fact, to do 2 plus 3, you take 2 pieces, and take 3 pieces, and count them over. You don't even have to add them up like we do. Here they are. In other words, to figure out a physical situation, even a dog can do. That's not called seichel. Seichel is what I explained before. Seichel is the conceptualization, that which only a human being has, that he has it partly because he's a human being. He knows a piece seichel, this has to be in a certain way. Before he saw what it is, before he opened up the hood on the car, he was 100% sure that the car has to be running in some mechanical way. The wheels don't move themselves.
So, like in the high level know something, and the person knows this too, but not in the same language. When he's find the same language, like he's like, can explain to himself how it's right, and then it's click, like he's I feel it's right.
Yeah, something like that. We're not going to go through the whole process. The point is that seichel is rooted deep down in the person. And I said seichel is even higher and closer to the nefesh than even midas, even emotion. And we all understand that emotion is something which is a human thing. And seichel is even more higher than human, much higher, more representative of the nefesh. And in seichel itself, there are many levels. Like we said, there's chokhmah, bina, v'das. These are 3 general levels in seichel. And ultimately, seichel is in the original level of seichel, like chokhmah, we don't really understand even. We don't really understand. We have to translate it at a much lower level in bina to be able to grasp it. You learned recently in Tanya, I don't know, I'm sure you learned, whether it's in Chitas Seder or other times, but the Alter Rebbe explains the Inyach HaChochma, that it's really higher than Seichel. And it's really, so to speak, a spark directly from the Nefesh. Abraham, it says, is Avram, which means that his seichel was ne'ala mikol rayan, could not be identified in thought at all. This is Avram. The level of Avram, where Avram conceptualized and thought, was beyond the reach of a thinking process.
Ram is like strong also,
What?
no? Ram is like
No. Ram means superior, high, superior, supreme.
Kol Ram, like Chazak.
No. Kol Ram means loud.
Huh?
Loud.
Gavur.
Gavor, loud. Ba, loud, not chazak. No. Strong is Chazak.
No, I think Ram. Maybe this also Ram.
No, Ram means Ram superior, high. Rom al kol goyim Hashem, right? Or Marom.
My mistake, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I had in mind to explain something, okay, I must.
What is okay? Sechel, the human being sechel. What is chokhmah law?
Okay, that's what we're coming to. That's what we're coming to. So Avram's Madrege. Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you this story. The Rebbetzin, the last years, she could not walk up the steps. And they had a little chairlift in the house that goes up the steps. It's very common. So one time she was on this chairlift. She was in the middle of the floor, in the middle of the staircase, and it stopped. Happens. Whenever something went wrong or you disconnected electricity, it stopped in the middle. So she was stuck. And she had always with her a beeper, to call somebody. So he called the man who was taking care of the house, Halberstam. She told him what happened. So he didn't have a key to the house. So he comes to the house is locked. He says, the house is locked. They communicate over the phone. So she tells him, go in the back, there's a window that's always open. Come to the window. So he goes to the back, he comes to that window, and the Rebbe is sitting right in front of the window. And he's thinking. So he calls her back, and he says, the Rebbe is sitting right in the window. How am I going to go and disturb the Rebbe? So she says, you can go, you will not disturb him. And so it happened. He climbed out the window, came in, the Rebbe was sitting there, completely oblivious to the whole phenomenon, the whole occurrence. He came into the house. What kind of seichel is that? Okay, so this is Avraham. B'shorshei seichel anelam b'chol mikol raya. B'chinas chochma ilo da'atzilus. Which is the chochma ilo, the supreme chochma of Atzilus. Shalamaylo mibchinas gilui. Which is above the possibility of gilui. We can't reveal that chochma. In simple terms, this means that even though the world was created, and the world was created going through Atzilus, from Atzilus came Bria and Yitzir and Asiya. But that aspect that came from Atzilus to create the world, to create Bria, and then Yitzir and Asiya, was the lower aspect of Atzilus. Not the Chochmah Ilah. The Chochmah Ilah, the Chochmah Atzilus remained in Atzilus. That could not be translated and brought down into a lower world. Because this is L'mayla M'chinas Gili. It is above being revealed, and therefore the world, which is the revelation of Atzilus, did not include the revelation of Chochmah Ilah. But v'yiker hakavonahu, but the main kavon, the main intent that Hashem had in creating the worlds, yiker hakavon, is sheyiyeh hagilui be'olam ezbiyah, that this gilui, that the revelation of the highest madregas should be in the world of Bria, of Bria Yitzir Asiyah. Just to give us a handle on this, every Yid has a munah. Amunah is the highest, like we spoke before. Amunah is beyond contemplation, beyond understanding. But the function of developing and learning and growing up on a person is not just that he should have a munah someplace hidden, but that this amunah should reveal itself, and he should understand the world from the perspective of amunah. That is the ultimate kavanah. Shouldn't be made in amunah. He should see how this amunah affects the physical world. Because if he has amunah, and he knows that Hashem is higher than the world, fine and good. But when he comes back to the world, he only sees world. The function and the purpose of Amunah, the ultimate purpose of Amunah is that it should help him understand his world. Not just he should have Amunah away and higher than world. He should explain to him what world is. He should see the world from a perspective of Amunah. So the similar Indian, the Kavanah, Hashem created the world, and He created the highest worlds and the lowest worlds. And they are in different madrigas, high and low and so forth. But the Yikar HaKavanah the Rebbe had from the beginning, that ultimately the highest aspects of Elokus should be affecting the physical world. So that the physical world should be able to, the lower world, Biyah, Bri, Tziyasiyah, should be able to be viewed and understood with the light of the higher Inyan of Atzilus. So initially it was created this way, Atzilus, Bri, Tziyasiyah. But that's not the kavanah, it should stay that way. But that the highest thing should be revealed. Gilui. Gilui means it should be understood. Raya, like I said before, thought. The kavanah is that this seichel should come down in thought, should be revealed. That's the kavanah. That's what it says. Bahainu, which would mean that there should be an increase. Increase? Everybody knows the word increase? Increase? Tosefes. Yeah, Tosefes. An increase of light in the world. That even though originally the world was created, and when you know only world, you don't see godliness, you see only world. But the kavanah is that there should be an increase of light in the world, so you should see in the world something higher than world. Or K'mayim Razal, and as the sages say, Ad Avraham, till Avraham came, Hoya Choshech Ba'olam. There was darkness in the world. Avraham Hoya Choshech Ba'olam, was dark in the world. What?
Open the eyes.
There was darkness in the world. What is darkness versus light? What is the difference between darkness and light? It's a funny question, right?
It's a relation and concealment.
Okay, let me explain to you my question. Okay.
חיסרון שלו.
What?
חושך בא מחיסרון שלו.
כן, כן, but מה נהיה כשיש אור?
The light you see, the no light you don't see.
Okay, so you don't see. But
This the-
what's missing? What's missing? What's missing if you don't see?
You don't see all the picture, you see all the details.
You have to think, right. Let's say this room was completely dark. No light. Okay? And you want to know what's doing in this room. What would you do? You would walk around and feel your way. Here's a table, here's a chair, here's a cup, here's water in the cup, but child, don't spill it. You could you could identify every last detail in this room without light. It will take you a little time. But you can identify it.
Not everything can be identified without the
I'm
eye.
sorry?
Not everything can be identified with the hand.
Like what?
Like colors. And
Colors, right. Colors is exclusively light. That's right.
letters.
What's color? What's color? What's so special about color? Okay, we'll come to this. So, physically speaking, we can identify everything in this room without light. When a person goes into a room and he needs to know what's going on in the room, and he goes around, in fact, and he feels every part of the room, and he finds out exactly what the room looks like, and he starts to formulate. There are 4 tables over here, and they stand in this formulation and format, and there are chairs. Yeah, the tables here, tables there. Here's a formulation, and okay, this room, you can use it for this, you can use it for that, all kinds of different things. Okay. And he's still in the dark. Then he goes and switches on the light. What happens? When you switch on the light, there's an expression. The room came to life. What's meant it came to life? It becomes alive. It's still the same thing. The tables didn't start dancing. The books didn't start talking. What's when it came to life? But that's an expression, that's the feeling you have. It comes to life. Like you said, colors. This is all part of life. What you experience with that addition of light is not the finding out of all the detail, all the physical pieces. You experience what is the human factor. Why is it like that? Not what is it, but what is it meant to be? Why is it all like that? What is the concept? What is the idea behind this room? Not what the room is. Any person who designed this room this way, this was a human idea. This is not, the room didn't formulate itself. The reason the tables are standing in this way is not because, oh, there are tables, you have no other chairs, you have to put them this way. It's not true. If these tables were piled up, one on top of the other, like in a storage house, then it wouldn't mean anything. When you put on the light, all you see is tables. But when you have them all set up in this way, you see there is life in this room. That you only see with light. And the colors and the different messages and so forth. So that when you say they have toisves oives, you have an increase of light, that means that you see more than what the world is. World is choshech. Choshech means you can know everything that's going on in the world. But you know every detail of what the physical world, let's say our world, the physical world is. How do you make bread? How do you get apples? Everything else. But it's all dark. It's all just part of the physical world. Let me give you an example. The Medrash says that Abraham had an Eishel, he had a guest house. And he would feed his guests. And then afterwards, he told them that he should thank God Hashem for the food. What's the point? When they were eating the food, as far as they're concerned, this food is part of the world. It's part of the natural world. How come there is food in the world? It grows somehow. It's like saying, the cup is here because it's here. The apple is here because it's here. So they were in dark. In other words, everything was because a part of the physical structure of the world itself. The world. Abraham came and told them, "You're making a very, very, very big mistake. You're oblivious. You're oblivious. You don't see. You're in the dark. You don't see what's going on. This apple that you ate, you know why it's here? Because God made it for you to eat. Did you ever think of this, of the fact that this was made specifically for you to eat? Do you understand there is life to it? Never thought of it. Bishop said Abraham brought light. Light does not change the physical structure of the world. Physically, you can know in the world exactly everything that's in the world, exactly the way it is, without light. But it has no life, it has no significance. So Abraham came and he started bringing light. He insisted on light. Was made light. What is this all about? How come the world has all these things? Thank Hashem. Who is Hashem? Hashem. See this food you ate? You think it's just part of the earth? It was put in the earth. It was put in this world. Just like the cup was put here. This table was not born with this cup. It was put here. I explained, I'm sure you remember, I explained that I make a bracha, Bere Pliho Eitz. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a principle.
And people already start to believe him after a while.
Well, he was teaching them. He's Hilahoyer. I mean, it didn't transform the whole world, but it made a very big dent. You know what that means? It made a big. Ram had big influence. He didn't change the world, but he started to bring light. Then the world fell back and rise up again. Made it possible for Eden afterwards to start working in the world. You see how dark the world is, because up until this day we still have to fight the darkness. People still think that you can lie and steal and it's okay. The world covers up for it. But it's changed. Rome started this whole process. Can you imagine how deep it was? 4,000 years, and we're still at it. So this is what it says. That Ad Avram hoye choshech bo'il. Till Avram there was darkness in the world, which means that the Oyer HaChochma, Oyer HaAtzilus did not reach the world. And the world was just what the world is. V'hagam, although actually we have to stop here because it's not you don't want to stop. I also don't want to stop.
So let's start now.
כל סוף זה התחלה חדשה.
What?
כל סוף זה התחלה חדשה.
That's right.
כמו שכל יום הקדוש ברוך הוא בורא מעשה בראשית. כמו שש ימים תעבוד, וגם משבי שבת ואין נפש. אבל הקדוש ברוך הוא לא מפסיק, גם בשבת הוא בורא. הוא לא נח. אם הוא לא יברא בשבת.
שבת הוא נח, את זה
אבל הוא
כתוב
בורא,
בתורה.
עדיין יש בריאה בעולם. כי כל פעם אין שנייה שאין בריאה בעולם. כל יום יש בריאה, גם בשבת יש בריאה. אז למדתי על זה פעם. אני לא יודע מתי, מה היה, שבמיוחד פה שלמדנו על זה. זה כל כך עמוק, יפה, שלמדנו על יום שתעבוד 6 ימים, בא משביל שבת ואין נפש. אז איך גם ביום שבת הוא בורא? כל יום יש מעשה בראשית. כל יום הוא בורא ובורא ובורא. כל יום הוא בורא מחדש.
No. So what happened? Yeah, it was Shabbat?
הלכתי לישון. אני לא זוכר. אני לא זוכר. אבל זה באמת כאילו...
בשבת, הבריאה היא באופן אחר.
במכה אחת?
באופן אחר, מהרצון. לא בבריאה, לא בעבודה. מצד הרצון השם. מצד העונג. כפי שאמרנו, שהשכל...
שאנחנו עושים את הבריאה?
לא, השם עושה. אבל השם עושה בדרגה אחרת, בדרגת החפץ, לא בדרגת העשייה. באדם יש חפץ, מה הוא חפץ, מה הוא רוצה, אחר כך יש השכל, אחר כך יש מחשבת דיבור ומעשה, ואחר כך הוא עושה.
תורה כל הזמן רק מגלה דברים יותר יפים. בגלל זה לא דוחף אחורה, זה רק עוד פעם רוצה עוד קצת, כמו ילד קטן שהולך אחרי הסוכריה, בוא. צריך להבין את זה אבל. זה מה שכיף ללמוד, שאתה מבין, לא רק קראתי וזהו.
לפני שצריך להבין.
בשיעור הזה כיף, הנה, לומדים 2 שורות בשיעור.
אנחנו למדנו 3 שורות
אבל מבינים מה למדנו.
בשעה, ביותר משעה.
פתח לי עיניים חבל על הזמן.
הסתכלתי כמה זמן רק על המילה אברהם, בלי ההי, שזה, הסברת חצי שעה. אמרתי, ככה למדתי איך ללמוד עם המשפיע שלי בפלורידה, כשהייתי לומד איתו. היינו יושבים על שיעוריו וזה, אז הוא אמר לי, ככה לומדים הכי טוב. וחזרנו על זה, עד שבאמת נקלט והלאה עוברים, כן. זה גם טוב ללמוד, בסדר, למדנו, אבל זה יותר עמוק מבינים שלומדים לאט לאט, יושבים על זה, ממש מקפידים על זה, מעמיקים בזה. חנוכה, למדתי על המאמר של הרבי, על חנוכה, זה היה פעם ראשונה שלמדתי מאמר. ולקח ממש, איזה שבועיים למדנו.